And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Hello, how's it going? Raf in the building, and welcome to another episode of the Combat Club. It's a club where we can born to fight anytime, everywhere, anyone, because we're going ahead to the UFC 305. It's not talking about for the area code of Miami. It's not talking about for Pitbull. It's the 305 event. It's going to be in Perth, Australia, between Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya, which is the last tell bender. It is going to be for the championship. And right now, we just got our co-host to talk about, to breaking down the UFC 305 before getting ahead to Saturday night. So I'm getting ready for excited. So how's it going, Zenith? So I'm very pumped up for this one.
Yeah, so am I, man. This is going to be a banger card. Yes, we got Izzy coming back and reclaiming the throne, but he has a horde competitor in DPP reigning for him. You know what I'm saying? Du Plessis is not someone to take lightly. He is the reigning defending middleweight champion of the world. He just came out there, and no matter what I feel about the fight, he got a clear victory over Sean Strickland. Could have gone both ways, but regardless of it, he is your reigning defending champion, and Izzy is coming off of a loss against Sean Strickland. So it is going to be a fire card, and I can't wait for Saturday, and I can't wait to talk about it with you today. Handful of fighters, obviously not the best card from top to bottom, but when you look at the top half of the card, we have some fights that could play some implications into the title picture here soon, such as Steve coming off his title defense. I could see him fighting and getting him back to where he needs to be at the top of the division. And that being said, there is a lot of if you look at a lot of these fights, I just off the top, I can already tell you that these are some heavy underdogs, right? There's some guys like for instance Tom Nolan. He's a thousand favorite. Like you bet $10 to win $1. You bet $100 to win $10. So there's extremely some lopsided fights on this card, but we've seen it in the past, right, Rafael? Where a card will look lopsided, and then all of a sudden the dogs are favorites, and the dogs starts winning at the end, and the underdogs come up on top. But I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, and I can't wait to talk about it. Let's get it.
Oh, yes, exactly. And I know the 305 event is going to be so incredible, but how tickets very matter, because every time we just see like a lot of main card, preliminary card, I mean, that's just being really amazing. And I cannot wait to see how it's going to be going right now. So this one is going to be very important. So the first star, we just got Julie forced him to silence over a year. So Carlos Prati will make another leap in the competition almost a year after his Contender Series appearance. While Pratchett likes the high level experience that Lee has, he has the younger and fresher fighter with a proven finishing ability. So the only point to finish him is going to be bananas, because the fact that this is the point that's bouncing back for the civilian jury after a long layup should be close up with the gap for the way for the victory. So I would love to get inspecting on it, but the grappling and striking, I mean, that really cures a lot. And of course, for the cardio, I mean, it's like so damn right to see how the things are going up right now, because it's all about for like experience. It's all about for like the youth, but also we just wanted to see how really important is going to be so great enough. But I know the grappling and striking is going to be, they take it like a long way to have to see right now. But I really think that it's going to be so realistic, but it doesn't have the main good start. It does. It really does, because there's going to be like way ahead to see how getting involved for the power punches, also for the jab combinations. I mean, everything's going to be like a banger. But the first one, I mean, there's going to be like a lot of great experience to see how did it go between of the rookie versus veteran.
Yeah, most definitely. What's up, Man Cave? Thank you so much for being here with us on a wonderful Thursday afternoon. Yeah, absolutely. Jing Lee, you know what I'm saying? He's a veteran of the game, but he is coming off of some losses. You know, if you look at his record, I believe he's coming off of a handful of losses not too long ago. He just lost against Daniel Rodriguez, and obviously everybody will lose against Kazma Chimaev. But that being said, he did have some canceled fights. I know that big fight against Tony Ferguson, he was really excited for. You know, it was one of the chances for a long veteran like him to be on the main card. Unfortunately, that bout got canceled. But now he's going against a young killer that is basically probably going to take his head off. I mean, like, Carlos is nothing to play around with. You see the 19-6, but he is on, I believe, a 5-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I'm mistaken. He is on a what it looks like yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a 9-fight win streak. And absolutely, you can see it there. Knee to the body, straight right, straight left, a head kick. This guy is literally out here coming. I mean, like, I know that's LFA, but if you look at the Contender Series and what he did in the UFC, 2 fights in, knocking people's heads off. You know, as far as Jing Lee goes, like my boy Rafael said, the guy is a veteran. But I just think that you know, they're really just feeding him to Carlos in this point. I have Carlos winning either by knockout or by decision. If I had to put money on it, I'm gonna put money on Carlos by knockout. It pays off more. Really, Jing Lee does have the fighter's punch, does have the fighter's chance. Anything is possible. But I'm gonna have to agree with my co-host Rafael here. I'm gonna take Carlos by knockout, and you guys know how we do it. We talk about the first 5 fights, and then if there's any exciting fights on the undercard, we will give you guys some sleepers there. Moving on, Ty versus Rosen. I know Rafael wanted to say something, so I'm gonna let him cover that
Yep.
fight first, and then I'll come in after. Let's get it.
Yep. And I know because Lee has an awesome strike lane. I mean, he's highly effective at pressure when he's training together combinations. But he has like a clear disadvantage to not fight in any time where they enter like the near range of praise. It's just like at a dangerous time because Perth is like highly experienced kickboxer, and when he show he fights, it's gonna be very expecting to kind of see like the reach advantage, keeping out the distance, throw straight attacks, jab, cross tap. But I know between for the wrestling and grappling, Lee wrestling and grappling has not been like a highlight for the skill set. But he also has a little black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there was like at a time to use it to against someone like Prates. But again, like at a very one-dimensional who isn't that great on the ground, but I would give like the great advantage of the department for Lee. But cardio, they had just a both. I mean, but we hadn't seen enough of the Prates cardio in the UFC to say very comfortably. So this is going to be like at a 50-50. But I will say this. Carlos Prates is going to win by knockout at the round number 2, which is an optional lock. I mean, they're just getting a lock out of that one. So another fight is going to be at the main event. It's going to be truly, there's going to be like a trade for ages. Junior Tafa versus Walter. Now for Tafa, it's like the higher level kickboxing in that fight. So I'll give like the nod to him. I mean, he always strike with a purpose. With Walker, he can strike for a heavyweight, but also give like a wrestling for the whole more effectively that is a social strike league. While Walker holds the cards, there's no way that Walker isn't like the best wrestler. He was a boy, supposedly has a lot of cardio reveals, but more than the matter, it's just like, boy, the cardio, they better used to that. They better used to that because every single round he fights, he was highly explosive. It just correct like the terrible cardio. But I mean, he's still freaking terrible because if you cannot wrestle without looking at the myocardial infarction, then you need to go to the treadmill and make your wrestling efficient. I mean, I'll give like it enough for Tafa, but it's like a weird metric to measure for that fight. So I would give like Junior Tafa be a knockout at the round number 2.
And that's where we stood different. I think Ty is gonna take, you know, obviously he's gonna get his head bitten off. I think Rosen is gonna come out here and absolutely deliver and retire him. Ty is literally washed. I like him, but he literally came into the UFC undefeated, won a couple of fights. Then he went on this stint where he lost about 3 in a row. We can just pull up his record right here. As you can see, he came into the UFC undefeated. We don't count those boxing matches. Okay. Then look at this. Undefeated, right? Three knocking off people's heads. Then he goes on the 3-fight losing streak. Then he goes on the 5-fight winning streak. But look at the competition. Greg Horty, ex-football player, not the best to the best. Where's Greg Horty at, guys? Harry, who the fuck is Harry? Stefan Struve, retired veteran, Saki, okay. Derek Lewis, a one respectable opponent from Ty. I love Ty. I love his whole shoey thing. I respect what he does. But honestly, I mean, like when he goes against top-notch competition, this guy literally got rear naked choke against Tabora. Nothing against Tabora, but Tabora is not top of the top in the heavyweight division, guys. When you go against someone like Rosen, Rosen's career absolutely is up and down. But I mean, like his career right now compared to Ty's 1 foot out, if not both foot out, where he still can compete and still literally can knock a motherfucker out in 23 seconds. I know Dawkins is not someone that is a household name and shit like that. And you look at Rosen's career, yes, it's a lot of up and downs, but I mean, like I'm watching Embedded, and Ty is like, oh wow, it's so beautiful here in Perth. I wish I was drunk to enjoy it better. I mean, like, bro, it's like, what are you talking about? Prepare for a fight. What are you thinking about? You're gonna enjoy the view better because it's drunk, and because if you was drunk, you enjoy the view better. Like he was like, oh, it'll be better if I was drunk. I mean, like I had to put on the subtitles to see if I'm hearing him correctly. That being said, what's up, Leprechaun? Thank you so much for being here. But Rosen is literally gonna knock the fucking lights out of. He's gonna send Ty to the fucking Shadow Realm, and if it wasn't for the popularity and him being a fan favorite and him kind of putting himself on the map, so shout out to Ty for when you join the UFC, you kind of gotta take advantage of the moment. So the UFC will get you in front of the fans, but it's how you make yourself in front of those fans. And Ty literally clearly has a career outside of the cage. He has a lot of small businesses. So to shout out to him. And I honestly think this is like a good retirement fight for Ty, because you got to think about it too. Like look at the UFC and look how much they're paying him. They're paying him probably 100,000 win, 100,000 show, 100,000 win. So it's almost like $200,000 for a 14-7 fighter when you literally can go get a guy off the Contender Series and pay him 12-12 or 20-20. You know what I'm saying? So it's $200,000 on the guy. I'm not trying to disrespect Ty, but at the end of the day, man, Rosen's gonna beat the brakes off of this guy. And yes, Ty does have the punching chance, but at the end of the day, I'm taking Rosen all day, every day. And leads us to another one. I mean, like, let's go into this one, and I'm probably just gonna begin too. Gamrot is fucking game. And why the fuck is he matched up against a washed Dan Hooker? I mean, like, I really don't understand that. And, like, get it. Dan Hooker is not really washed. I wouldn't really say he's washed. He's on a 2-fight win streak. But, I mean, like, when it goes top-level competition, he's proven that he can't win against top-level competition. So then when he takes a step down, then he goes and wins, and now he's going against a real dog, a real competitor. And yes, Gamrot may probably is going to probably watch. So, and a lot of people say he's boring because he doesn't really do that much damage. He kind of just really gets you down, holds you down, and really doesn't really do anything. Barely lands any significant strikes. Some people call him like Muhammad. He's just boring. But if you really think about who's going to take the fight here and who's going to win here, I haven't seen Dan Hooker have amazing takedown defense, and this guy only loses against good people in Benir Dariush. Obviously, this guy's not really a household name, but Benir is, and I don't understand the matchmaking on this card, because for me, I may be stupid, but at the end of the day, I mean, like, this is a clear Gamrot victory, just taking Dan down, driving him all over the octagon. And I guess the matchmakers want to see Dan knock him out. I guess Dan has the knockout power. He is on a 2-fight win streak, but Gamrot's clearly gonna out-wrestle the kid. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Well, I mean, for Mateusz Gamrot, I mean, he has a relentless grappler with a high level wrestling skills. I mean, he's one of the best wanglers.
So you got to put it on.
Okay. All right. So there you go. All right. So what I was talking about for like this one, for Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker, I mean, he's just like one of the best wet blankets of the promotion, grappling, controlling, laying the way for the numerous victories of the promotion. Even he was like out struggling with the wash-up Rafael dos Santos in the previous fight. and they restored for the bread and butter wrestling skills to get like another boring win. But I can see why fans hate Gambler because it's boring fighting style. But as I had these fighters like Gambler, at least they have a solid game plan every fight. At least at a paceable fight IQ, something that many fighters lack sadly. Now for Dan Hooker, you might be careful about this one because he's a dangerous striker with a knockout power. He has 10-year UFC veteran, has so many highlights, knockout victories on the resume. But so far, he has unable to break that ceiling. It has been lost to the upper tier fighters in that division, like Poirier, Chandler, Makovich. So he's a good fighter, all right, but it's just below the elite level of that division. It'll be like an interesting clash of style with a good grappler, the basting striker. So this will depend upon Hooker's ability to take down takedowns. But I think that he's gonna be like an underdog. But he has to have the chance to knock out Gambler to stop under the stress before he can implement the slay and pray strategy. But I will say this. Gambler will stop because he will take down against Hooker as one of the best pound by pound grappler, not only for the history, but also in that division of the UFC. I think your mic is I think it's still low right now, but we're trying to figure it out. And also shout out to all these persons on the chat, the main K, the Leprechaun, G Nation Side Sports. Thank you. So I was trying to figure it out about for the microphones. So
I'm sorry, I just was muted. Thank you so much. I apologize on that. And then I sent the link just in case Lou wants to call in. That being said, though, and we have another one. We got Kai Kara France versus Steve Ercik, Astro Boy, and we got Steve. Literally could have been flyweight champion of the world if it wasn't for that one slip up in the fifth when he took Pantoja down. But clearly this guy has seemed to go toe to toe with the champion. Yes, was he ready for the moment? Absolutely. But was Pantoja a little bit more experienced? Absolutely. So yes, Steve lost that fight. But if you told me if Steve could beat him in the rematch, I would say absolutely he has a fighter's chance to beat Pantoja in the rematch. And then they feed him Kai Kara France. Like I just don't understand this. I mean, like Kai Kara France, absolutely. I get that the court is in Australia and you want to have, city kickboxing and Australian and New Zealand fighters on the court. But then again, I'm just kind of almost upset with McMahon and Sean Shelby in this one. It's almost like, where's the matchmaking at? Are we just now going to just feed Kai Kara France to Steve? Steve's going to mess this kid up for the whole 3 minutes. I mean, like, I really don't see a scenario where Kai Kara France comes in and beats Steve Ercik. Astro Boy is literally fighting for the championship, while Kai Kara France is literally trying to defend the top 10. I mean, like, let's just go into his record, and I guarantee you, if my number serves me right, if my memory serves me right, I mean, like, he just lost against Brandon Moreno, lost against Abu Zabi, and I get it. These are two of the cream of the crop. I mean, like, look who's he's beating, a washed up Cody. You know what I'm saying? So he's losing against a Brandon Royale. Like we're not gonna take anything away from him. Like a Tyson Nam, it's almost like what is the competition that Kai Kara France faced to him? They're just gonna feed him to Steve. And I get it, Steve is an up and comer, but when I seen this kid fight for the championship, I mean, like, that was his first loss in the UFC. He's getting rid of the competition when what he's supposed to do. And I get it, 3 fights in the UFC. Yeah, if you guys want fast title shots, just fight in the flyweight division. But this is another one, man. If I'm gonna put money on it, I'm gonna put Steve Ercik. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that I just don't really see a way to victory against Kai Kara France. So this is another lump-sided matchup, and I'm gonna take Steve all day, every day.
Wow, I mean, that's very fair. I mean, there's like a belly argument that Steve Ercik probably should be like the flyweight champion. It should be defending the title for this co-main event. I mean, he definitely outstruck Pantoja on the feet during the 5 rounds, but he foolishly played into his opponent's hands with grappling in the 5th round. It doesn't really help that the event was held in Brazil and Pantoja got the friendly judges' suspicion despite being unstruck and receiving more damage than Ercik. But for Steve Ercik, I mean, he has a meteoric rise since entering the UFC, almost winning the title of the 4th fight of this UFC career. I think he's like a good striker with initial power for a fighter for the flyweight division. Now for Kara France is very fast, powerful striker, great good work. Also, they have a good work with the foot, so it's gonna be expected like a technical striking battle of this bout. But he has like a decent career so far. But he has to be the high level opponent in that division, as they're gonna be for Royal, Moreno, or Bassi. France does have more experience, but I think Ursay has a highly ceiling as a fighter that no one has seen that. But I'm gonna show what he can show that he can handle the best of the division because he has the talent to be the future of the flyweight division as Steve Urkel. Because I think that man, which is Steve Ursay, gets the job done in the very competitive, explosive fighters will land the heart of the shows over that opponent. And I would love to see that because after what you saw for that fight, I mean, they're going to be very important at all. So it's going to be like a great striking, also grappling, wrestling, the cardio. I mean, it's going to be really insane. But I think it's going to be like an amazing fight to cover it up because Steve Ursay just had many days waiting to be a champion. So I will tell for this one because I understand that there has a lot of chance, a lot of shots. But I think the Steve Ursay deserve a lot of great shots to put on the spot to give like a title shot. Give it a Steve Ursay a title shot and we'll good. We'll good.
I think you're absolutely right, and honestly, I kind of understand it. You know, I'm out here, you know, roasting Kai Kara France and roasting Dan Hooker, but I understand it. Both of those guys right now are going to be gatekeepers for 305. They need to stop these two young prospects of moving up the ladders. You know what I'm saying? And I honestly, I don't know why Gamrot is facing Dan Hooker because he's ranked way higher than Dan Hooker. But at the end of the day, Dan Hooker, you know, he's native to New Zealand, Australia. My bad. And at the end of the day, it's almost like, when you look at this Kai Kara France matchup, and I look at this Gamrot versus Dan Hooker matchup, yes, Dan Hooker has a fighter's chance, a knockout chance. Yes, Kai Kara France can use his speed, and yes, Kai Kara France can legitimately go out there and maybe outwork Steve. But to be honest with you guys, like I don't really see that happening. I see Steve being a one-side fight with Steve, it being a one-side fight with Gamrot. But I do understand that Dan Hooker at this point in his career and Kai Kara France at this point in his career are gatekeepers, and they need to stop these up-and-comers because if Steve wins this fight, he's fighting for the championship again. There's not really anybody that's gonna be in his place stopping him. You know what I'm saying? And as for Gamrot, that is lightweight division, so that's a whole nother story. But that being said, when you look at Ty versus Rosen, I really don't understand why this is a matchup. And I mean, like, I'm not trying to diss the matchmakers here, but even Junior Taffa, like, why the fuck is this guy even in the UFC? Like, this guy literally needs to get cut. Like, you know what I'm saying? Walker is gonna one-shoot this guy. Like, literally. Like, I don't understand why. But I digress. I'm not even gonna try to complain. But that being said, let's go into our main event of the evening. That is going to be a DTP versus Israel Adesanya. And I'm just gonna say this off the back. I mean, like, I have Izzy winning this fight. I think Izzy is going to be able to, you know, avoid most of the hard-hitting punches that is going to be coming from DTP. The only way I see, you know, Izzy losing is obviously if DPP implements the game plan that Izzy's bad at, and obviously that is being aggressive, going out there and just being doing what Sean Strickland did to Izzy, doing what Alex did to Izzy the first time, is not letting Izzy get comfortable on his feet and being the aggressor. And that's what DP does. That's what Duplessis does. He is the aggressor. He's going to come out and he's going to be aggressive. But at the end of the day, I do see the first couple of rounds, both of them filling each other out. I hope that Duplessis doesn't come out and really try to immediately take Izzy's head off, because if he does, that guy's going to get countered real fast. A lot of people don't understand that when you're a champion for a while and defending the champion like Izzy did, I mean, like, these motherfuckers nowadays win the championship and do a whole fucking world tour. You don't hear from them. You know what I'm saying? Come back and lose their titles. You know what I'm saying? Nothing against you, Elon, and Edwards. Nothing against you, but like, look at Ilya doing a fucking world tour. Look at Duplessis doing a fucking world tour. Like, everybody does a fucking whole world tour. It's not mandatory that you win the championship and you fucking travel all around the world and do all this press. Right? Guess what? Izzy has been doing that shit, right? Over and over and over and over and over again. Izzy's been fighting the best of the best, defending the best of the best, fighting 2 to 3 times a year, sometimes 4 times a year if the calendar year fits right, and actually been doing it at the high level. And every fighter needs a break. GSP needed a break. If Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor probably needed a break, but guess what? They didn't take it, and they ended up losing, right? When you're at that level of success and you are the face of the sport, right? And kind of what Alex is right now, being the face of MMA, UFC. But if you think about it, like Izzy literally was the face of the sport. GSP once was the face of the sport. He had to walk away because the pressure of media and all going against all these top level opponents and still trying to improve on your craft can get challenging, right? He had to walk away. You look at Conor McGregor. I mean, like, he was the pinnacle at the sport at one time, and he was the best promoter that the UFC has ever seen outside of Dana White in promoting his own fights and stuff like that. And even him, he's seen the ride down. And obviously, I think the loss to Sean Strickland was the best thing that could ever happen to the Style Bender. And I do think the Style Bender comes back, and he's seen what he did wrong, and he knows how people beat him. He knows how to beat himself because he's seen it happen. You know what I'm saying? If you're DPP, you need to stay aggressive, and you need to mix in the wrestling, because don't go out there and try to be a superhero and try to go knock Izzy out, because don't let your emotions come into this fight, which I don't think he will. You need to go out there, you need to stay aggressive, and you need to wrestle. But I honestly think that Izzy defends those takedowns, and Izzy comes back to what we've seen in the past. And I could be totally talking out of my ass because the guy is 35, but I really do think that he has one more reign left. And if you're Robert Whittaker, you should just move up to light heavyweight, because there's no, honestly, bro, DPP Izzy and Sean Strickland is gonna have this division tied up for the next 2 years, no matter what happens, because Sean Strickland gets the winner, and then it might be a triangle, and everybody might be fighting everybody twice. So at the end of the day, I mean, like, Robert Whittaker, the only way you can probably get into the mix is if maybe Izzy wins, then he beats Sean, DPP wins, and then he beats Sean, and then you fight Sean. But at the end of the day, like, if I'm Robert Whittaker, I just move up to light heavyweight. Obviously, you're one of the best fighters, and it sucks because the division is so tied up at the top, because Izzy beat you twice and DPP knocked you out. So, and Sean's not going to fight you because Sean has the title shot next. So why would he fight you? So you're going to be waiting literally for like a year and a half, if not 2-3 years, in order for Robert Whittaker to get his title shot. But that being said, I do have Izzy winning. I just think he outmaneuvers DPP. I think he's much more faster than DPP. I think DPP does have a chance to win. Clearly has. I just explained to you how I can see Duplessis winning, but at the end of the day, I think Izzy's gonna come back into top form and give us a show, give us a true show. And I'm not saying it's gonna be one-sided. Both fighters has the opportunity to hurt each other, but this is how I see the fight going. Round 1, filling each other out. Round 2, kind of throwing more. Round 3 is when you actually see one of them pulling ahead, and then championship rounds is that's where Izzy's gonna be Izzy. And I'm not saying that DPP is gonna fade, or he's gonna gas, or he can't handle championships round. Clearly, he can handle championships rounds. But I got Izzy winning by a decision. Or I could see a late knockout for Izzy. But obviously, it wouldn't surprise me if Duplessis gets the victory, or Duplessis gets a knockout or submission. It's not going to surprise me. But I'm gonna take Adesanya. I really am. I'm gonna take Adesanya here. Go right ahead, Raphael. I know that was a lot.
Yes, and of course for the main event, I mean, this is gonna be really interesting right now, because I know that after Sean Strickland lost against Draco Duplessis, that was like at the beginning of the year 2024, and then he was going against Israel Adesanya. Now, there's like a lot of things that are about for this feud, because I know he's from South Africa, because he was like the African fighter, because he lives and trains to the continent, unlike the other fighters for African descent. Because I know that at Sendai, he was born in Nigeria, but he lives and trains in New Zealand. But Draco Duplessis, they just can bring a versatile orthodox. He had aggressive fighting style, but I know he's dealt with amazing striking with grappling, with his opponents with relentless pace and pressure. But it looks very awkward at times, but somehow the stance and styles of fighting, it works for him. So I'm gonna blame for criticize because now there's gonna be like an argument that she not have won the title against Strickland. There was like a close fight to call him. Both fighters are better at the end of that fight back in January. But be careful about Israel Adesanya, which is the last style bender. He's definitely one of the best technical strikers they ever see of the whole life. Right against for the Alice Pereira, he has a very dominant run.
We'll get to your question after Rafael. What's up? So what's up, Macon? We'll get to you though. Go right ahead, Rafael.
Yep.
No, continue, and then we'll get to his question after.
Yeah, I know how to continue, but yes. But I definitely, because as soon as it's going to be worth here to Anderson Silva, they know for exceptional striking and technical acumen. So he truly will reach for the speed of control, distance, aligned to the precise shots. But it's going to be like a close, exciting fight. And Adesanya is definitely more technical for the fighter for the Richard bench. This is form. But he should won the striking battle. But DDP is one of those underrated fighters who gets very underestimated because they're under his style. I mean, it's very good in both grappling and striking dependent, but the key right now is if they can get enough takedowns to hurt Izzy on the ground, because they down with the put on worst performance than a Strickland fight, because it seems that Adesanya has to be the favorite. And it makes sense that he showed ability in the past, but at 35 with that horrible performance last year, but I wonder it could lost like a step. It's not very quick. But I know this grappling will be like the key on that fight. Using that power, skills to take takedowns, but also to be hanging around with the kid, landed the hardest shots in the fight. But I might be wrong about this. But it might really look like foolish to make it off of the pick. But I believe that Israel and Zendaya could be a bigger return right now. Bigger return because this is going to be like unpredictable. Because I know that Duplessis has a great game plan, but not letting the straight line with the front foot in the midst off and striking and wrestling. But DDP was getting outboxing until the knockout that wasn't a counters. I mean, we will get like a shooting it easy, which is at Zendaya. I mean, we're about to see like literally pick it up, a ground and pound, because I would love to see having this come back right now. But how's been like a betting underdogs to the last fight? How did they work it out? I mean, they hasn't maybe enough of this one. I mean, I know it's gonna be like underrated versus overrated. People that just believe that skill that very heavily on that ground. So I would love to get expecting this. I would love to expecting this because I know it's gonna be utilizing reach and speed. So I would love to see how Israel and Zendaya shutting down the haters against Draco Duplessis. I know it's gonna be like another typical battle, but I would love to see on the spectacle because after he was training so hard over the last months, I would spend it about for the more skill, more betting, and of course more power this punches, and of course the submissions of Israel Zendaya. Don't ever subestimate about the power of Israel Zendaya. He's one of the best on that division. He can really knock down. I mean, that's all. Israel Zendaya could be like a better combat against Draco Duplessis to win that title and getting enough of this one.
And that's the thing. I agree with you. And that's the thing is like I'm not trying to make an excuse for Izzy on why he won against Sean, because I even said to take Sean on that fight. I said if you guys are gonna take someone, take Sean, because Sean is gonna be walking Izzy down, and that's exactly what Sean Strickland did. But I honestly think that Izzy was media drained, and I honestly think that's why I say the best thing that could have happened was for him to lose, because when you're media drained, I'm like, you're defending your championship 3 times a year, and then you're doing world tours. I mean, like, look at all these young champions, Edwards, Ilya, DPP. They literally won, and they've been on world fucking tours, bro. They traveled the world. They went to different countries showing off the championships, and I get it. You want to do that, and congratulations. Who am I to say don't? But all I'm trying to say is you have a champion in Izzy that literally was fighting his fucking tail off year in and year out, face of the company for over 4 years, and that catches up on you. no vacations. He wanted to take vacations. He was about to take some time off. And then here comes Uncle Dana with another contract. And obviously he's like, yeah, let's go. And I love that. I love active fucking champions. That's what Max Holloway did. And I'm sorry, I can't leave an MMA stream without bringing up my Hawaiian. But at the end of the day, I love Max Holloway because he's fucking active. And he was active as a champion. He was active before a champion. And that's exactly what Izzy is. And I love the fact that Izzy got this year and then some off. And brings us to making the walk question. If you think about it, can you pull this comment up? Like I said earlier, I don't know if you was here for that. But I honestly think if you're Whitaker, you move up because Sean Strickland does have the next shot at the title. Obviously, I thought he won with the jabs, but the judges didn't see that way in Canada. I don't know if it's because Sean Strickland did Canada, but it was a split decision. So he literally went a split decision against Duplessis. And the way I'm looking at it is I'm from an era where you have to beat the champion to take his strap. DPP didn't beat Sean. He cut Sean. It was worse than it looked. He didn't beat Sean. You know what I'm saying? If that was a street fight and if there was no judges, Sean wins that fight 10 out of 10 times. And that's where, for me, I'm not being a hater. It's just, for me, it's just hard to back DPP in this fight because of the fact that Izzy's coming back and he is coming back with a vengeance. And getting back to making the walk, Whitaker, literally, these three are going to be tying up the division for quite a long time. So if you're Whitaker, your best chance is to move up to light heavyweight and try to make a run there. I get it. You have to deal with Alex at the top. But at the end of the day, you got to look at it. You got Chimaev. You just mentioned, I think Chimaev gets a shot over Whitaker. I get it. Whitaker is a better fighter, higher in the talks right now. But Chimaev hasn't fought any of those three. Where the only way I see Whitaker getting himself into the mix is, say, one of these guys win, right? Izzy wins, he gets his rematch with Sean. And DPP wins, he gets his rematch with Sean because Sean is officially next. And if Sean loses that fight, then you get Sean versus Whitaker. And that's the whole only way I see Whitaker sliding his name into the mix. Because Sean wants his revenge against DPP. So he's hoping that probably Duplessis wins this fight so he can get his rematch with him. But Izzy wants his revenge against Sean. So you're going to see, eventually, you might see trilogies. You might see back-to-back trilogies. I'm not saying it's going to be like Davison Figueroa versus Brandon Moreno, and they fight like 4 times back-to-back. But with Sean Strickland in the mix, it's really the big three right now in that division. And they're going to be fighting each other over and over again. And unless Whitaker goes out there, fights Chimaev, and knocks the fucking Chimaev out, because I know they were supposed to fight. And that's like that big, something big has to happen for that to happen. But I honestly see them holding up the division for at least a year and a half until it kind of, the dust kind of settles and you have your true champion, and Izzy retires on top, or Izzy loses this fight and maybe he goes and he fights Chimaev because he wants to go out there and he wants to take heads or stuff like that, or maybe he wants his rematch against Sean. But at the end of the day, man, this division is gonna be almost like tied up. It is like the light heavyweight division, how the light heavyweight division used to be. And the thing about the welterweight division is nobody wants to fight Shakawat, but guess what? Muhammad finally said his name, so nobody's ducking him. At least we have a champion that's not ducking Shakawat, so now go fight Shakawat because he is truly the next champion in the UFC. But then you have Ian Gary calling him out. But my mind is all over the place. Let's get back to 305. But to answer your question, if I'm Whitaker, I just get the fuck out of Dodge and I go move up to light heavyweight.
Yep, I mean, exactly. And speaking about for Sean Strickland, because he was the only guy who got complete domination over Izzy, and even a fight against strikers. Robert got whooped by about Izzy strikers. Chimaev has been enacted a 4 top 10 as much as anybody else, because as yet it makes more sense for the division to let Sean get Sean at the redemption, because Rodda had 2 cracks at getting the strap back and got sparred by Dracos Duplessis. Sean beat Izzy at the fight, a 5-round banger with DDP. Either way, any of all those guys go for the room. I mean, they can release it to do Chen versus Strickland in February or March. Then do it have to the winner Casman with Taker in the summer, and for the next title shot if they don't mind waiting. I mean, how is it
You
gonna
know
be?
what's sad, Raphael? There is a world out there where Rob Whittaker is your middleweight champion because Rob
Yeah,
Whittaker is such a good fighter. Like I love watching some Rob Whittaker pass. I just do. Like Rob
yeah,
Whittaker is him. But in a world where there's DPP, Izzy, and Sean, it's almost like fuck. Like, there's a world out there where Rob Whittaker is the champion, but it's just not in this one. You know what I'm saying? Not in this universe. And it just sucks because the guy is clearly a high top level talent. You know what I'm saying?
yep. I mean, it really makes sense. It really makes sense at all because I know that Sean you dominated Zendaya that lost somehow to get a title shot, because many agree that he beat the Dominic Costa as well. Either one it makes very sense as a rematch against Strickland because surprisingly, absolutely, there's gonna be anything because I know that it makes sense that it's they get it like happens regularly. I mean, it's always been like a very good or very bad, but it's absolutely like they managed to want to like a proper matchups. But I would say this because he was so bad to get like the opportunity because I know they had to know that he would for those reasons because I really deserve like a title shot. I know about that. I know about it because I know his entirety. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it. I mean, he has because remember he has no interest in the fighting Robert Whittaker, just like a few months ago. I mean, he's just like a warrior. I mean, he fight anyone, everywhere, anytime with a battle means anything. I mean, they have no interest because how they gonna really act, obviously, because it's gonna be like it's not gonna be a robbery. But that was the same because between Sean Strickland versus Asandaya, it's just like a master performance. But it's not gonna be like very goofy, acting is somewhat questionable for the best of division. When most of those wins are relatively close decisions, and he has lost multiple times in the few years. Even with the Paulo fight, most kind of came down for body language. Nothing about for the substance actually landed for the entire fight. Every round Sean has isn't against Brazil is very close. Isn't very close because it only works because middleweights are unable to hit the body and follow out to the head. Pause. I mean, Alice was the only guy with the two instantly to put in and out. I mean, Sean's entire strategy is making the fight not that very slow and weird, but winning by landing 3 more jabs per round. I mean, they're acting like some kind of shit like that.
That's absolutely facts what you said. Absolutely. And exactly what making the walk said as well. The only way Whitaker comes in is he goes out there and he beats Chamaya. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It is basically like a tournament right now. And that's the fun thing about the UFC, right? There's so much top cream of the crop level fighters at the top of every division, right? When you get to the top 7 of every division, I'll even go on a limb and say the top 10, right? It's just a different level of fighting, right? And to work your way up there, it takes hard. It takes hard. It takes a lot of skill, right? And we all know that as MMA fans. And I just was looking at this undercard, and I'm looking at names like Herbert Burns, like he's literally in the UFC because of his last name, Burns. I mean, like this guy is literally. I'm not even trying to be a dick, but I mean, like this guy should be fighting in Bellator. And you look at Alex Reyes. I mean, like this guy fought 2 times in the last 7 fucking years. Got knocked out against Mike Perry in 2017. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like he's only in the UFC because of his brother Dominic, the last name. Tom Nolan's gonna fucking dust this kid. I mean, like, just literally, I'm looking at the UFC, and we all do as the cream of the crop, right? And when you try to work your way up the list, right? And you fight, from you're ranked maybe 27th in the rankings, and as soon as you get into the top 20, man, it's just a hard sport, and then to break into the top 10, it's even harder, and to be competitive for as long as Robert Whittaker was in the top 5 of the division is absolutely amazing, and it just sucks. It just sucks that this division is so crowded that Robert Whittaker is not fighting for a championship. I think Robert Whittaker literally could fight for the BMF championship. You know what I'm saying? Because he is a bad motherfucker. And at the end of the day, maybe they should do something like that. Maybe they should do a Sean Strickland versus Robert Whittaker for the BMF championship. I don't know. That would be a fun fight to see. But that being said,
That
I do want to point out Santos, man. I think this girl is going to be fighting for a championship next if she continues doing what she's doing, man. She is on a fight. She's on a 5-fight win streak right now, and she is streaking. Obviously, 3 fights in the UFC. Really didn't really test herself against high level opponents just yet. Casey O'Neill is not a high level opponent. I wouldn't put her up there, but at the end of the day, she is an opponent that Santos should be able to get past. Santos just fought like a month ago, and she's back for another one. So I love seeing her. I know she's easy on the eyes, so it's always good when she's easy on the eyes. With that being said, any fight on the undercard that you're really excited to see, or it's almost blah?
Yeah, I mean, between for that fight, I mean, between for Luana Santos, I mean, what could I tell you about this? I mean, that should be very important. I mean, she's coming for that fight.
Man.
I mean, despite for coming off at a short notice, I mean, she won all her 3 fights on the UFC so far, and she does like a well-rounded game with a good submission ability. That's one of those things that I would love to see that. But the UFC has given like crazy opponents just like Maria Gapova, which is not on that level, and Juliana Miller, who has a 3-3 record. Casey O'Neill has decent grappling skills, but she has been in a 2-fight losing streak. Losing to Jennifer Maya, Arilan Lipsky. But the thing is going to be like the hometown fighter thought if this fight got to the judge's decision, they might give like the edge. That fight will be closer than they all suggest. I mean, Lana looked very impressive, but that's against terrible competition. After all, O'Neill has pretty much only been in jobbers herself and seems to have it a reach for the sale for UFC. But it's gonna be like a tough call. But I'm gonna tell it about for Luana Santos. But she gave like a bounce back performance in front of the home crowd and just like a very competitive fight. I mean, there's like a great battle in underdogs. But I think this is one of those sponsor opinions like it makes sense all through of it immediately because it be a lot of confidence. But also there's like another fight that's gonna be like very interesting right now. It's between Keenan Son versus Ricky Glenn. For the preliminaries, I mean Keenan Son is just like a powerful striker, known for the knockout ability and aggressive fighting style. And you know you had to be careful because those strengths, it doesn't lie. It doesn't lie with the striking precision and power, but it's just like a double-edged sword that is sent to take a lot of damage on the fight, has been knocked out on a few occasions because that veteran can dish out punish blows, but I think the skill set is very limited, but he's found like at a level as a mediocre fighter at that promotion. But Ricky Glenn has no show up much, despite showing a more versatile fighter than Son. His only best performance has to deal draw against Grant Johnson, but that weakness seems to be strikers who could hit very hard, pause, as the same with the loss of the knockouts of the first round, Jay Dauber and Crystal Ciagos of the last 2 fights. But I think that some may be like a bad matchup for Glenn, but he doesn't seem like they have the confidence that a chin can weather the sharp, hard shots of that fight. So I'm going to be picking out Keenan Son on that fight. And don't sleep on those preliminary fights. I mean, it's going to be like a more interesting because we want to see like a young prospect and, of course, veteran fighters going out for the preliminary fight. So don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them.
Absolutely. Should be interesting fight too. He did absolutely have some moments in Silva. Absolutely. And Leon Murphy's him. You know what I'm saying? Like Leon Murphy's absolutely him. So, you know, if you can get some shots on Leon Murphy, like, you know, that tells us something, you know? Like that loss against Leon Murphy, we don't really count. Like he went to a decision against him. And Danny's game too, so that should be a fun fight. I know a lot of people on this one is taking Ramos, but don't count out Josh. I get it, you know, he's on this 2-fight stint, but at the end of the day, those are two level opponents. And I honestly like Carlos here, man. I want this kid to continue streaking, man. This kid's riding a 9-fight streak right now and just continue, man. Go eat this Chinese guy up. I'm not sorry, Jingli. My bad, bro. But I just want to see some domination. You know what I'm saying? Pause.
Yeah. And about for that comment, I say Culibao versus Ramos. I mean, that should be very interesting about it. I mean, that should be very interesting because I know that it's something like dynamic because Joshua Colivao is a dynamic striker. He utilized a variety of attacks, including kicks, combinations to keep his opponents at bay. Those strengths are speed and ability to adapt during fights. All he had to exploit like opening inside of the opening defense. So far, that record on the UFC has been mixed. He could ever beat lower fighters, but he has lost against good fighters like Lerone Murphy and Jalen Turner. But I would say he's on the middle of the pack of the division with good striking skills.
This
Nothing
is actually a good. This is actually a good job, matchmakers, for this one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There's
I
a lot of
know, but
one-sided fights, and I mean, like what looks to be one-sided fights, because MMA math, you really never know. On any given Saturday, anything could happen. But at the end of the day, I mean, like there's been some one-sided fights on this court, and this is actually a really good matchup. I actually do like this matchup. So thank you so much for bringing it up, making it work.
yep. And I know this is gonna be like so important right now, but I think for that fight, I mean, is more than a striker, so he will not to worry about it. I mean, he has a better striker than Ramos for the third round, so to get back for the win. I mean, Ricardo is just like very versatile with a strong grappling background, complement with the striking. I mean, he has fought since 2017, but also what worries about that he lost to mid fighters like Charles Jourdain and Julian Rosa, who's made with the guillotine. But I will say this: I mean, they're gonna be like winning at all. I mean, there's nothing to run about for the grappling and striker, but I can see like it involved for the future. I mean, it's striking, grappling, the cardio. I mean, they doesn't lie. They doesn't lie at all.
Yeah, making the walks in another thing that I agree with is all like they don't ever give Jing Lee good like easy fights, bro. They out here feeding these kids like no names, and then Lee is just fighting like these name prospects coming up. It's like, well, give this guy Tony Ferguson, give him Tony Ferguson because he lost his chance to beat up on someone. You know what I'm saying? Feed Lee Tony Ferguson. I'm sorry, Tony. I know. Yeah, you're one way in, you're one way out. But if Tony wants to continue being a punching bag, feed him Lee. I apologize. That came out wrong. But like Tony, just fucking retire, bro. If you don't retire, Lee's gonna come out there and knock you out. I'm just joking. But that being said, man, we really appreciate all you guys for being here for me to review this fight. We are gonna go live on Sunday again to kind of recap the fight. I know, Rafael, I just want to give you the mic. I don't know if you wanted to cover anything that happened in the world of WWE or any other sports. If not, we can always talk about that on Sunday. But if you want to take some time, you're more than welcome. Take some time, talk about it. Let's get it.
Yeah, exactly. And I know it's gonna be like a great episode number 18 because we're just giving back like the UFC 305 preview. And thank you very much for having us, and thank you for the comments. I see Making the Walk, Big Blue in the Bronze. Also, I just saw G Nation Inside Sports, the creator of Letter to the Face, the Leprechaun AFC, also the Man Cave. Thanks for all these comments right now. So thank you very much for joining us on this episode number 18 of the Combat Club. Remember, folks, hit the like button, don't be a ninja, and subscribe to Zenith and Capitán Rafucho. It costs you free. And of course, don't forget to ring the bell for notifications if you missed the live stream so you can catch the replay. So
I'll let you pick the time. What time are we going live on Sunday? I'm free all day.
Yep. I know it's gonna be like a really realistic, but I will stay for this because I was thinking about for between Sunday morning or afternoon because of the noon. So I will try to make it up this review with a special guest. So I'm trying to pull it up. So thank you very much for having us in this episode number 18 of the Combat Club, along with Zenith and Capitán Rafucho. Have a great night, folks. And of course,
we'll see you guys sometime on Sundays. So just look out for that setup. Let's get it. Appreciate it.
There you go. God bless you.